Well, a new Fox op-ed says Minnesota's $700 million to $1 billion fraud scandal exposes how Democrats built a system that was just designed to be robbed. Jason Rantz wrote that op-ed, and he joins me now. Jason, we're beginning to see signs of this popping up elsewhere, and again, you know, I'm sure most of the Somali residents are fine people, but Somali fraudsters in Maine now are being exposed for doing the same damn thing. Again, there it's not as clear-cut and definitive as it turned out to be in Minnesota. But why was the system made to be frauded?
Well, the system was made to be frauded by not having any guardrails up. It was always intended to rubber stamp help for marginalized communities so that liberal or progressive local leaders can say, look what we're doing for the community. And of course, that community then responds by supporting them and keeping them in power. There is a lot of issue, I think, with ideological blinders on these individuals who, the second that you question even whether or not a program is going to be effective, you're immediately called a racist, which is precisely what happened when some people in Minnesota were like, the numbers don't really match up, that you're saying at one of these sites where they're supposedly handing out meals, they're handing out like 6,000 a day to adults and children when that particular city where the site was located only has a population of about 2,500. So it never really made sense, and anyone who said something was immediately dismissed. And then, of course, you've got the nonprofit industrial complex. If you're ever wondering, whether it's Minnesota or elsewhere, where these programs continue to get funded by groups that show no meaningful results and yet their budgets continue to go up and up, it's because of the nonprofit industrial complex where they make connections with these politicians and either give them direct or indirect support every single political season, so long as the budget continues to come in.
So the money comes from the taxpayers, from federal taxpayers in many cases, goes to these organizations, is fed to these organizations by the politicians who are in turn fed by the organizations. It's a real circular event that's going on here.
Yeah, it's the circle of political life, I suppose. And of course, at the same time, when it comes to any deniability, a politician can just step up and say, well, we didn't know, we had no control, but now we're going to take it on really tough, which is what Tim Walz is doing. But this all happened because of a system that he helped to create and put in place.
100%. All right, next one for you, Jason. Iran and Egypt were chosen to play in the World Cup Pride match. Well, Iran now is reportedly objecting to playing in those two countries. Homosexuality is against the law. In 2022, the FIFA World Cup in Qatar cracked down on rainbow banners and pride messaging. How do you expect all this to go? A lot of contradictions here.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of insufferable politicking on the local level on this match. I will say, in fairness, the city of Seattle and the organizers, they came up with this before they had any clue which countries would even be playing in Seattle. So they didn't do it intentionally in this regard. However, to me, this is more about the controversy that the same people who will be speaking out on this day, on this match, and try to make a big deal about this are the same exact ones who defended Iran when they were attacked by Israel. These are the same people who have been siding with the anti-gay, anti-trans folks in Arab countries merely because they happen to be more anti-Semitic than they are pro-LGBT. So that, to me, is what this story actually is. These people are absolute hypocrites, and they were never going to go to these matches anyway. I think everything's going to happen outside of the stadium. That's their intent. They'll make a big deal, but they're total hypocrites.
It's not just hypocrites. I mean, they're shooting themselves in the foot by supporting those individuals in countries, in some cases, that are trying to literally kill homosexuals. I mean, they're literally killing their own in supporting these organizations and countries.
Yeah, I think they hate Jews more than they support the LGBT community. And that's the unfortunate reality with these activists.
It's crazy. Jason Rantz, great stuff. Thank you very much.